There are things in life we can accept, and there are things we must never accept. A calm mind does not mean a weak one. True strength is knowing where to stand firm. Self-respect begins the moment you decide that certain behaviors will no longer have a place in your life, not because of anger, not because of pride, but because peace requires boundaries. That disrespect is not always loud. Sometimes it appears in small actions, careless words, or repeated disregard for your time, effort, and presence. A Stoic mind learns to observe these signs without emotion, without anger, and without excuses. Disrespect is not something that suddenly appears. It reveals itself slowly through patterns. When someone consistently speaks over you, dismisses your thoughts, or treats your boundaries as unimportant, they are communicating a clear message. The mistake many people make is hoping that silence will change the other person. Silence only works when it is paired with self-respect. Without self-respect, silence becomes permission. To tolerate disrespect is to train others to continue it. A Stoic understands that people behave according to what is allowed. This is not about controlling others, but about governing yourself. You cannot force anyone to value you, but you can decide whether they are allowed access to your time and energy. Respect is not requested through emotion or gained through argument. It is established through consistent behavior and calm withdrawal when lines are crossed. The Stoic does not insult back, does not explain endlessly, and does not seek validation. He acts with dignity and removes himself from situations that diminish his character. Disrespect also tests the ego. The desire to be liked can make a person accept behavior that slowly erodes their self-worth. A Stoic trains himself to value character over approval. When insulted or belittled, the mind must pause and ask whether the words spoken truly define reality or merely reveal the speaker's state of mind. Most disrespect comes from insecurity, ignorance, or inner chaos. Understanding this does not mean accepting it. Compassion and tolerance are not the same. One can understand the cause while still refusing the behavior. Self-respect requires clarity. If you do not define your standards, others will define them for you. A Stoic sets internal rules for how he allows himself to be treated. These rules are not written for others but for himself. Once a line is crossed, action must follow. Action does not mean conflict. Often, the strongest response is distance. Reducing access, limiting interaction, or walking away entirely sends a clear message without a single word spoken that there is power in restraint. Responding to disrespect with rage only gives the offender control over your emotions. The Stoic goal is inner mastery. When someone disrespects you and you remain calm, you protect your peace and maintain authority over yourself. This calm is not weakness. It is discipline. It shows that your sense of worth does not depend on how others behave. Your value is not negotiable, and it is not damaged by another person's poor conduct. Over time, repeated tolerance of disrespect leads to inner conflict. The mind becomes restless, resentful, and exhausted. A Stoic seeks harmony within. Allowing disrespect is allowing disorder into the soul. Order is restored when boundaries are enforced. This enforcement does not require confrontation. It requires consistency. If someone continues to show disrespect, the Stoic adjusts his behavior accordingly without bitterness, without drama. Respect begins internally. How you speak to yourself sets the standard for how others speak to you. A person who honors his own time, energy, and principles naturally discourages disrespect. Others sense firmness even in silence. They may not like it, but they will feel it. And those who cannot respect you will eventually remove themselves. Which is not a loss, but a correction. To refuse disrespect is to choose dignity over comfort. It is to accept temporary discomfort for long-term peace. The Stoic does not chase validation, does not fear solitude, and does not tolerate what weakens his character. He stands quietly, rooted in self-respect, and allows actions to speak where words are unnecessary. Constant negativity poisons the mind long before it damages the outside world. A Stoic understands that the thoughts he allows to enter his mind shape his character, his decisions, and his peace. When surrounded by people who complain endlessly, criticize everything, and see only what is wrong, the mind slowly absorbs that darkness. Negativity is contagious, not because it is powerful, but because it is repeated. Hearing the same complaints day after day trains the mind to expect failure, conflict, and disappointment, even when none are present. Many negative people believe they are being realistic. In truth, they are trapped in habit. They react instead of reflect. A Stoic does not deny hardship, but he refuses to live inside it. There is a difference between acknowledging difficulty and dwelling on it. Negativity dwells. It feeds on attention and grows stronger the more it is entertained. When you listen without awareness, you participate in it. When you nod in agreement, you strengthen it. Over time, this participation weakens inner discipline. The Stoic path requires guarding the mind. Just as you would not consume spoiled food, you must not consume poisoned thoughts. This does not mean cutting off everyone at the first sign of complaint. It means observing patterns. A single moment of frustration is human. A life built on constant complaint is a choice. When someone refuses to seek solutions, refuses responsibility, and repeats the same story of victimhood, they are choosing stagnation. Staying close to such energy pulls you into the same mental loop. Negativity also disguises itself as bonding. Some people connect through shared complaints, shared anger, or shared blame. This kind of connection feels comforting at first, but it weakens the soul. A Stoic prefers solitude over toxic company. Being alone with a disciplined mind is healthier than being surrounded by voices that drag you downward. Silence gives space for clarity. Negativity fills that space with noise. A Stoic does not argue with negative people. Argument gives them more ground to stand on. Instead, he limits exposure. He changes the subject, shortens conversations, or steps away entirely. This is not cruelty, it is self-preservation. You are not required to carry the emotional weight of others. Each person is responsible for their own inner state. Compassion does not mean sacrifice of peace. The mind becomes what it repeatedly focuses on. When negativity is constant, gratitude fades, patience shortens, discipline weakens. A Stoic trains himself to focus on what is within control. Complaining about what cannot be changed wastes energy that could be used for growth. Energy is limited. Where it is spent determines the quality of life. Choosing distance from negativity requires courage. Some will call it cold or uncaring. A Stoic accepts misunderstanding. He knows that protecting his inner order is more important than being liked. Peace is built by deliberate choices, not by pleasing everyone. When you refuse to engage in constant complaint, you send a silent message. You show that you choose clarity over chaos. Negativity thrives where purpose is absent. A Stoic fills his days with meaningful action. Work, discipline, and reflection leave little room for useless complaint. When life has direction, the noise of negativity loses its grip. The mind becomes steady, grounded, and less reactive. By guarding what enters the mind, the Stoic preserves strength. Calm becomes natural. Focus sharpens. The world remains uncertain, but the inner state remains ordered. And from that order comes resilience, self-respect, and quiet confidence. Dishonesty erodes the foundation of every relationship, not all at once, but slowly and quietly. A Stoic learns to value truth, because truth brings clarity and clarity brings peace. Lies create confusion, and confusion creates inner unrest. When someone lies, they are not only hiding facts, they are forcing others to live in uncertainty. This uncertainty demands mental energy, constant doubt, and emotional vigilance. A disciplined mind does not accept this burden willingly. Dishonesty appears in many forms. Some lies are loud and obvious, while others are subtle and repeated. Half-truths, broken promises, and shifting stories all point to the same weakness of character. A Stoic pays attention to patterns rather than excuses. One lie, explained, may deserve patience. A habit of dishonesty deserves distance. Trust is not rebuilt through words, but through consistent action over time. When action and speech do not align, the Stoic believes action. A person who lies often fears consequences or seeks advantage. Understanding this motive does not justify the behavior. The Stoic recognizes that dishonesty reveals more about the speaker than the listener. Still, awareness alone is not protection. Allowing dishonest people close access to your life invites instability. Plans collapse. Expectations fail. Doubt becomes constant. The mind is pulled away from what matters into endless questioning. Truth allows relationships to be simple. When honesty exists, There is no need for constant checking, suspicion, or emotional defense. The Stoic values simplicity because simplicity preserves energy. Life already presents enough challenges without adding unnecessary mental strain. Dishonesty multiplies problems by hiding them instead of facing them. What is hidden grows heavier with time. A Stoic does not chase explanations from a liar. He does not demand confessions or dramatic apologies. He observes, adjusts, and protects his inner order. Distance is often the cleanest response. Not as punishment, but as consequence. When trust is broken repeatedly, access must be reduced. This is not anger. It is logic. Dishonesty also tests personal integrity. When surrounded by lies, the temptation arises to respond in kind. A Stoic refuses this path. He remains truthful even when others are not. His character does not depend on external behavior. By staying honest, he keeps his mind aligned and his conscience clear. To lie in response to lies is to join the disorder rather than rise above it. Living in truth requires courage. Honesty is not always comfortable. It can expose weakness, invite judgment, or bring short-term loss. A Stoic accepts this cost. Long-term peace is worth more than short-term comfort. Lies may protect the ego for a moment, but they damage the soul over time. When dishonesty is tolerated, self-respect declines. Each ignored lie teaches the mind to accept confusion. Over time, clarity fades. A Stoic seeks sharpness of perception. He wants to see reality as it is, not as it is presented to him. Truth sharpens judgment, lies dull it. By refusing to tolerate dishonesty, the Stoic creates a life built on solid ground. Conversations become clear. Decisions become confident. Trust, when given, is given wisely, and when it is withdrawn, it is done calmly, without bitterness or regret. Manipulation is one of the most dangerous behaviors, because it hides behind kindness, concern, and affection. A Stoic trains his mind to see actions clearly rather than being distracted by words. Manipulation is not always aggressive. Often it is quiet, subtle, and repeated. It appears as guilt, emotional pressure, or silent expectations placed on you without consent. The manipulative person seeks control, not harmony. They want influence without responsibility. A Stoic understands that true care respects freedom. When someone genuinely cares, they allow you to choose. When someone manipulates, they push you toward outcomes that serve them. They may praise you only when you comply, withdraw warmth when you resist, or frame your independence as selfishness. These tactics aim to confuse your sense of right and wrong. Confusion is the tool of control. Manipulation works best on those who are kind and empathetic. The Stoic does not abandon kindness, but he adds wisdom to it. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. When you constantly adjust your behavior to avoid someone's disappointment, you are no longer acting freely. You are reacting. A Stoic values freedom of mind above comfort. He notices when his actions are driven by guilt rather than reason. One sign of manipulation is emotional imbalance. If you often feel anxious, pressured, or responsible for someone else's feelings, something is wrong. A Stoic believes each person is responsible for their own emotional state. You may offer support, but you are not obligated to carry another's emotional weight. Manipulators shift responsibility onto others to avoid facing themselves. A Stoic does not argue with manipulation. Argument feeds it. Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. Calm observation weakens their influence. When you stop explaining yourself, stop over-justifying decisions, and stop seeking approval, their power fades. Clarity returns when you act according to reason rather than fear of conflict. Refusing manipulation requires internal strength. There may be consequences. The manipulative person may accuse you of being cold or uncaring. A Stoic accepts misunderstanding as the price of integrity. Peace does not come from pleasing everyone. It comes from living in alignment with reason and virtue. Distance is often necessary. Not all manipulation can be corrected through conversation. Some patterns are deeply rooted. A Stoic recognizes when engagement causes more harm than good. Stepping back is not abandonment. It is protection. You protect your time, energy, and clarity by limiting access to those who misuse them. Manipulation also reveals a lack of respect. If someone truly respected you, they would not need to control you. They would trust your judgment and honor your choices. A Stoic chooses relationships based on mutual respect, not emotional dependency. Dependency weakens both sides. By refusing to be manipulated, the Stoic strengthens self-trust. Decisions become cleaner. The mind becomes lighter. Guilt fades because actions are guided by reason rather than pressure. Inner peace returns when control is reclaimed. Freedom of mind is a Stoic's greatest possession. Anything that threatens it must be examined carefully. Manipulation is not tolerated because it corrupts choice, distorts reason, and disrupts inner order. The Stoic remains calm, observant, and firm, choosing clarity over comfort and self-respect over approval. Lack of accountability reveals a refusal to grow. A Stoic understands that responsibility is the foundation of character. When someone avoids responsibility, they avoid truth. They protect their ego by shifting blame, making excuses, or rewriting events. This behavior may appear harmless at first, but over time it becomes destructive. Nothing improves where accountability is absent. Mistakes repeat. Trust weakens. Progress stops. A person who never admits fault lives in constant defense. Every challenge becomes an attack. Every correction feels like disrespect. A Stoic observes this pattern without judgment. He does not try to rescue such a person from themselves. Growth cannot be forced. It must be chosen. When accountability is missing, advice is wasted and effort is drained. Excuses are tools of comfort, not solutions. A Stoic values solutions because they lead to action. When someone blames circumstances, other people, or bad luck for everything that goes wrong, they give up control over their own life. Control, to a Stoic, is precious. It begins with owning actions and outcomes, even when they are painful to face. Lack of accountability also affects those nearby. When one person refuses responsibility, others are often forced to carry the weight. This creates resentment and imbalance. A Stoic refuses to take responsibility for what is not his. He helps when help is appropriate, but he does not enable avoidance. Enabling keeps people weak. Boundaries encourage growth. Accountability requires humility. It requires the courage to say, "I was wrong," without explanation or defense. Many avoid this because they confuse accountability with shame. A Stoic knows the difference. Shame weakens. Accountability strengthens. Owning mistakes clears the mind and restores order. Avoiding them creates inner chaos. A Stoic also holds himself to this standard. He examines his own actions daily. When he fails, he corrects course without self-pity. This inner discipline makes him less tolerant of those who refuse to do the same, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for effort and truth. When accountability is absent, trust cannot survive. Promises lose meaning. Words become empty. A Stoic watches behavior more than intention. If someone repeatedly avoids responsibility, the Stoic adjusts expectation. He limits reliance, reduces cooperation, and protects his peace. This is not punishment. It is alignment with reality. Blame is a distraction. It shifts focus away from improvement. A Stoic keeps his attention on what can be controlled. When someone constantly blames others, they remain stuck. Staying close to such behavior invites stagnation. Progress requires ownership. Choosing distance from those who lack accountability can be difficult. They may accuse you of being unforgiving or harsh. A Stoic remains calm. He knows that clarity often feels uncomfortable to those who avoid it. Protecting inner order sometimes requires stepping away. Accountability builds strength, resilience, and respect. Its absence weakens everything it touches. A Stoic does not argue with avoidance. He recognizes it, accepts it, and moves accordingly, preserving his energy for growth, discipline, and truth. Repeated boundary violations are a clear signal that respect is absent. A Stoic understands that boundaries are not suggestions, they are lines drawn to protect the mind, body, and soul. When someone crosses these lines despite being told where they stand, they are testing not only your patience but your self-respect. Each violation chips away at inner peace. Tolerance of repeated intrusion slowly teaches others that your limits are flexible, when in fact they are essential. Boundaries are not arbitrary, they are the measure of what you will accept and what you will refuse. A person who ignores boundaries often seeks control or advantage. They may act oblivious, feign ignorance, or insist that your limits are unreasonable. A Stoic recognizes that true respect does not require explanation or justification. When a line is crossed, the reaction must be consistent and deliberate. Inconsistency signals weakness, and the manipulative or careless person will test again. Calm firmness is the antidote. The Stoic does not rage, beg, or plead. He simply enforces the boundary, sometimes with words, sometimes with action, often with silence. Repeated violations also reveal character. People who refuse to honor limits show a lack of discipline and self-awareness. They are guided by impulse, desire, or entitlement rather than reason. Being around such behavior without enforcing consequences invites chaos. A Stoic chooses order within, and order cannot coexist with constant disregard from others. Protecting space and energy is not selfish. It is necessary for clarity of thought, emotional stability, and moral alignment. A Stoic observes patterns rather than reacting to single incidents. One boundary crossed may be an error, many are a choice. Distinguishing between accident and intent requires attention. But the principle remains: repeated disrespect requires action. Action does not mean aggression or conflict. It means adjusting access, creating distance, or limiting interaction. The goal is to protect peace, not to punish. The Stoic acts from reason, not emotion, and does so consistently. Boundaries also teach others about you. They communicate self-respect without words. When enforced calmly, they establish expectations. People begin to understand what is acceptable and what is not. Those who cannot honor these expectations will eventually remove themselves or be removed. This is not loss, it is correction. Stoicism values clarity and truth over comfort or convenience. Tolerating violation undermines both. The mind becomes restless when boundaries are ignored. Anxiety, resentment, and frustration build, even if outward behavior is controlled. A Stoic recognizes this internal signal as a warning. It is an opportunity to act, not to suppress emotion. Suppression only delays resolution and increases inner tension. Calm enforcement of limits restores balance, reduces mental clutter, and strengthens self-confidence. Boundaries extend to time, energy, and emotional investment. Someone who repeatedly ignores your availability, disregards your decisions, or imposes demands without consideration violates these limits. Protecting them is a practice in self-respect. It is also a lesson in discipline. The Stoic trains himself to respond logically, not reactively, to transgressions. Every boundary enforced strengthens resolve and clarifies priorities. Walking away or reducing access is often necessary. This is not retreat, it is a deliberate choice to maintain integrity. Those who respect you will adjust their behavior. Those who do not reveal their true nature. The Stoic values truth above appearance. By refusing to tolerate repeated boundary violations, the mind remains ordered, the heart remains calm, and the life remains guided by principle rather than external chaos. Self-respect requires calm firmness, because it is the foundation of inner peace and personal integrity. A Stoic understands that strength is not loud and discipline is not aggressive. True self-respect is expressed quietly through choices, actions, and boundaries. It does not seek approval from others, nor does it need constant validation. Calm firmness means standing by your principles without drama, without anger, and without hesitation. It is a silent assertion of who you are and what you will allow in your life. Firmness begins with clarity. You must know your values, your limits, and your standards. A mind that wavers invites compromise, confusion, and intrusion. When someone challenges your principles, firmness is the response that protects your integrity. Calm firmness is not stubbornness. It is reason applied consistently. A Stoic trains himself to respond to situations with thought, not emotion. This means enforcing boundaries, refusing harmful behaviors, and making decisions aligned with virtue, even when it is uncomfortable. Many people confuse firmness with confrontation. They believe being firm requires argument, conflict, or force. A Stoic knows otherwise. Firmness is internal first. It is the quiet confidence that your decisions are correct and your boundaries are non-negotiable. This inner strength manifests externally through consistent behavior. When someone tests limits, calm firmness communicates without words that certain actions will not be tolerated. The mind remains undisturbed because the response is guided by reason rather than reaction. Calm firmness also preserves energy. Reacting emotionally to every slight, insult, or challenge drains focus and clouds judgment. A Stoic reserves emotional energy for what truly matters. By maintaining composure, the mind remains clear, the body steady, and the decisions effective. This is a form of power that cannot be taken by others because it originates from self-mastery. Strength rooted in calmness is unshakable. It commands respect without demanding it. That firmness protects relationships as well. It is a common misconception that accommodating everyone ensures harmony. In reality, ignoring your own needs to satisfy others creates resentment, imbalance, and loss of respect. A Stoic understands that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not submission. By remaining firm yet calm, you set clear expectations, communicate boundaries, and encourage honesty. People learn how to treat you not through argument or anger, but through consistency and integrity. Self-respect grounded in firmness also guards against manipulation. Those who attempt to control, guilt, or pressure you are deterred by calm resolve. Manipulation relies on confusion, emotion, and doubt. When firmness is applied thoughtfully, manipulation loses its effectiveness. You respond with clarity, consistency, and detachment. This is not coldness. It is disciplined discernment. The Stoic chooses who has access to his energy and attention based on virtue and reason, not obligation or emotion. Developing calm firmness requires practice. It begins with small choices, saying no when convenient, asserting boundaries when easy, and making decisions aligned with principles even in private moments. Each act strengthens resolve and reinforces self-respect. Over time, firmness becomes natural. It is not a performance or a mask. It is the authentic expression of a disciplined mind. Others sense this energy even without explicit statements. Respect follows naturally when self-respect is unwavering and finally. Calm firmness allows the mind to remain free. It prevents chaos from external forces, shields against emotional disturbance, and maintains focus on what truly matters. A life guided by reason and virtue is steady, purposeful, and resilient. Through calm firmness, a Stoic achieves freedom from manipulation, distraction, and unnecessary conflict, creating a foundation of inner strength that no external circumstance can shake. Walking away is one of the most powerful forms of strength because it demonstrates self-respect without aggression. A Stoic understands that not every battle is worth fighting, and that some people cannot be persuaded to act with reason or virtue. Walking away is not an act of weakness, but an affirmation of boundaries, clarity, and inner peace. It is the conscious choice to protect your mind, energy, and values from harm. To walk away calmly is to show that your well-being and principles matter more than temporary conflict or approval. Many people mistake walking away for avoidance. They think that staying and arguing proves strength, and that leaving is surrender. A Stoic sees this differently. Leaving is not about escaping responsibility or duty, it is about refusing to engage in destructive patterns. Some people thrive on conflict, manipulation, or repeated violation of boundaries. Engaging with them endlessly only trains them to continue harmful behavior. By walking away, you remove the opportunity for continued disorder. You maintain control over your own life and your own mind. Walking away also requires clarity. You must know what you will tolerate and what you will not. A Stoic examines situations carefully and distinguishes between temporary frustration and persistent harm. Not every slight deserves distance, but repeated disrespect, dishonesty, manipulation, or violation of boundaries does. Recognizing the difference is critical. Acting from reason rather than emotion ensures that the decision to walk away is deliberate and purposeful. It is not reactive. It is measured. That walking away is an act of self-respect because it affirms that your peace cannot be compromised. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, manipulates you, or refuses accountability, staying in the situation signals tolerance of what should not be accepted. A Stoic refuses to allow external chaos to dictate inner calm. By stepping away, you protect your mind from constant stress, your heart from resentment, and your character from compromise. This choice communicates clearly without the need for argument, insult, or retaliation. But Walking away also protects energy. Emotional energy is finite. Engaging with negative or harmful people drains focus, patience, and motivation. A Stoic values energy as a resource that must be carefully guarded. Each interaction should be evaluated. Does it contribute to growth, virtue, or clarity, or does it consume and weaken? When the answer is clear, the decision to step back becomes not only logical but essential. Peace and focus are preserved when the mind is not entangled in unnecessary conflict. Furthermore, walking away teaches others how to treat you. People learn boundaries not through anger, blame, or threats, but through consistent action. When they see that violations, lies, or manipulations result in distance rather than endurance, they are forced to recognize the consequences of their behavior. Respect is cultivated by consistency, and distance is one of the most effective tools for creating it. A Stoic does not explain endlessly, does not plead, and does not try to force recognition. The act itself communicates the message. Walking away also frees the mind to focus on what truly matters. Life is filled with challenges, responsibilities, and opportunities for growth. Allowing energy to be consumed by individuals who refuse to act with integrity or reason is a waste. A Stoic prioritizes clarity, discipline, and virtue. By leaving situations that offer no positive outcome, the mind remains sharp, the decisions aligned with reason, and the character uncorrupted. Ultimately, walking away is not about anger or resentment. It is about self-mastery. It is about refusing to compromise peace for the sake of temporary comfort, approval, or engagement. A Stoic walks away calmly, firmly, and deliberately, knowing that every step taken in alignment with reason strengthens the mind, protects the soul, and preserves dignity, creating a life guided by principle rather than chaos.